Welcome everyone to another episode of Rooftop Perspectives. I am your host, Lancescurv, and it's another beautiful day, another peaceful day, and it's all because I made it that way, right? Life is what you make it, your day is what you make it, your reality is what you make it. You have a big say-so in creating your reality, and most people don't even have a clue as to how much they feel as though they're victims. They feel as though it's like a big, not a stream, but you know that Niagara Falls, right before the dam, right, where the water spills over. That water is so strong moving down, most of us feel as though our reality is that rush of water, and we're just caught up in it, and no matter what we do, we can't have a say-so in creating it. And the opposite is the truth. Our neglect to proactively create our reality is nobody else's fault but ours. Lots of times, when we're exposed to that thought or exposed to that idea, we just reject it because it's easy to be a victim. It's easy to say, well, that's life. That's the way things go. No, that's not the way things go. I do also feel that certain things are for you and certain things may not be for you. So you have to be shrewd enough to understand how to really go for the things that are for you and that resonate with you from the inside, okay? Because there's no way you're going to be someone who is 4'9" and you have such a strong mind that you're going to end up in the NBA. It's just not going to happen, right? Maybe it could. Maybe you can be so fast that you make up for the lack of height. Maybe you have pinpoint accuracy in your shots and you just let them off, but you have to be exceptional. You have to have the talent and ability and to be able to work hard to get it that way. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but we also have to look at what we are trying to manifest also. Because there's a thing called reality, right? But within that reality, and you look inside yourself to see what you have, the talent and ability can only go by or go so far. At some point, to go into higher levels of whatever area of expertise that you're choosing to go in, you're going to have to put in some work. You can work smart. At times, you're going to have to work hard. But no matter what it takes, it's going to take a discipline for you to go on a higher level. There's no way you're going to step into something that you see that you want to do and that you have a strong ability to do, to go high. A lot of us have talent, and a lot of us squander away that talent, and we can get but so far on the talent alone. How many of us know, and I'm just picking things from the top of my head, how many of us know that guy or that woman who was on drugs that had something that they did so well that even when they were under the influence of drugs and all the things that indulgence can bring as far as the setbacks, right? They still seem to excel higher than you or I in that particular area. There was an artist that my father knew that drew a picture of him. And I don't know where that picture went, but he snatched a piece of cardboard and in a rough pencil that wasn't even made for art. It was one of those pencils that you use in construction to kind of mark off when you're measuring. And it wasn't even sharp. And I sat right there as a child and watched him do this, right? And I was amazed at how he set it up and how he added each piece in, made sure the features were where they were supposed to be. He used it lighter, and then he went in with heavier effort and brought my father's face out on a piece of cardboard. Isn't that something? So I've seen it, but how much better could he have been if he had the discipline to take lessons? Not that the lessons are going to make him better as far as his talent, raw talent, but the lessons to know how to methodically lay out something. He did a good job, but there are techniques and ways that you can do and ways of thinking that will expand your ability as an artist. Me, myself, as an artist, when I went to the High School of Art and Design, it was very boring for me. Not that I was so great, but all they did was tell me by name what the techniques were that I was doing naturally. They didn't teach me how to draw. They didn't make me better in my artwork. What made me better in my artwork was the fact that I was around other artists, around other people who thought this way in their artistry, which may have been painting, may have been drafting, may have been freestyle charcoal illustrations, which I don't really like to freestyle anything. As far as my artwork is concerned, that is a big challenge for me, but that is not, I'm not going to do every medium, and whatever medium I do, I can do good. But I'm a precision guy. I go with surgical precision. I'm a detail guy. So that free-flowing, just take paint and throw it up on the canvas type thing, that doesn't resonate with me. That is not my personality. And I'm not rigid, but I like to be precise. I like to show you that I know what I'm doing when I put a pen in my hand, and I can be very precise. Anybody can just go up and say, this is what I meant by this drawing. You're like, wait a second, what, did you just get a blank canvas and blow your nose on it or something? I'm not putting anybody down, right? But the discipline behind that, how much better could we have been? I've seen boxers in the boxing ring, excellent guys, but they didn't live right. Drinking and partying and doing drugs and staying up all night and half behind training. How much better could they have been if they had some discipline in their life? And it's easy to say. It's easy to say this thing, oh, discipline, discipline, discipline. We say it, but then we tell our children sometimes this. And then our children are like, okay, you say have discipline, but how do I get discipline? How do I train myself to get myself to be that person? How do I break down the different components of discipline to know what it is that I need to work on to make me a more disciplined person? Discipline does not mean rigid. Discipline means squeezing out more out of your day, like you have that wet rag. And a few of us, years ago, when we were children, like 8, 9 years old, we had this rag that we were washing someone's car with, and we were done. And so I don't know how I came up with the idea, but I dunked the rag back in the water, pulled it up, and it was wet. And I said, it was 4 of us. I said, I'm going to pass this rag around. I want you to squeeze all the water out. Don't leave any water for me, because no matter how much y'all squeeze, I was always bragging like that. No matter how much you squeeze that rag, all 4 of you, I'm going to squeeze a lot of water out of it because I'm stronger than you. And they took the challenge. Oh, really? I said, you can pass it around as much as you want. And so one guy got it. He squeezed a lot of it. He passed it to the next guy. He squeezed some more. The third guy had it a little harder, and the fourth guy, he couldn't get much out of it. So I said, give me the rag. They said, man, this rag is dry. I said, no, it's not. There's water in there. And guess what? I squeezed a whole lot of water out of that, but I've always had a strong grip. I've always had a strong grip. And it was kind of stacked against them because I knew that. But that's discipline. When we can take our talents and amplify it, amplify it beyond what it is. A lot of us take talent for granted. A lot of us don't have much talent, but guess what? They work hard and make up for the lack of talent. So there is an equalizing factor, but when you have ability and you work hard also, it's a wrap. You'd have to have an off day not to be successful in the chosen area that you're in. And so this is what I see when I see many people out in the world. I love to study people. I don't mean like studying like I'm putting them down or anything, but I mean just observe them. And through how they move, learn from what they don't do or how they do or how they execute what they do to make myself better, right? When you do a job, like my father taught me in refinishing wood floors, there are ways that you can make the job easier on yourself by not being so repetitious in certain areas, moving effectively, just basic common sense things. And you're like, wow, that saved me a whole lot of effort, right? So if he had an apartment to do where he had to refinish the floors, and it wasn't a landmark property, because landmark properties, they require a specific way of stripping that floor or screening that floor, and the chemicals that you put on there or the dyes to bring out the original color. It's a headache, because then you have to have somebody come behind you and still check, even though you're certified to do that work, and they know that you're certified, more so than any old Joe Blow who says, yeah, I can do the job. No, it's very, very specific, and you can get in trouble or you can get fined if you do something against that, and you're gonna have to pay the next person if you mess up to come behind you and do it right. So it's gonna come out your pocket, fines and fees. So he had to know his stuff. But whenever we had a random job, maybe when work was a little slow, and he said, okay, I'll take this job in this particular apartment. You're not gonna go in there and work till 2 in the morning, and the folks have to get up early in the morning, making noise with your sanders. You usually do it on the weekend, and it's usually something posted to say, hey, there will be work done on this particular day between these hours and these hours. Please expect it. If you have any issue, contact me, the landlord. I mean, a lot of times, most people don't know what a certain thing entails. You just think, oh, just go ahead and do it. So you got to have knowledge on a certain topic too, because you can have all the discipline in the world, and if you don't know what you're doing, what good is it? I'm disciplined. Well, you're an idiot. I'm not saying this really, I'm saying it for effect, but you're an idiot to the fact that you need to know certain protocols of what is done in a certain order and in the way it's done, so you can move forward with maximum peace of mind without stepping on somebody's toes, without causing a problem that could have been avoided if you knew what the proper procedure was. That goes with anything. And I think you'll agree. But I remember we went into this apartment. It was a 3-bedroom apartment and long hallway and different stuff. And so my father started in this particular room. And I said, Daddy, you know, I'm 8, 9 years old. I said, let me ask you a question. Is there any reason why you're starting in this room? So he says, oh, that's a good question. He says, it's high up in the day, right? And we're going to be running these machines. And even though the people in the apartment building and the one next over knows we're going to be here, to be less intrusive, we're going to sand out this floor first because it's closer to the next building's bedroom. You know, they have bedrooms over there in those apartments. So we don't want to do this for the last late in the afternoon going into the evening. We want to get these bedrooms on this side done first. And we could do, well, it's a whole apartment actually, right? And the living room was more centralized where the sound wouldn't go out. But we would have been done from early anyway. But just in case we had to pause and go out and get some materials and one of the machines break, we got to go to the shop and get more. So this is the kind of mindset that I was raised in under my father. The procedure, sequence, the law, the importance of certain things. I don't know if my phone was ringing, but it's feeling pretty hot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it under this rag that I have to wipe my face, because I got to keep track of the time, because time will surely fly when you're hitched up to it. That's why I don't want nothing to do with time, this man-made manipulated time, because I don't know, not to get off the subject, but time to me can be manipulated by external forces. It's like when you feel like it's, you know, rushing faster and you can feel it. It's like somebody, like you're in the shower and the water gets hotter or the water gets colder. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And I just feel that somehow, some way, on a different level, the powers that be that are so oppressive can manipulate time. They've gotten a hold of some secrets far advanced than most of us who are vibrating low and are not aware of certain things, right? So you always have to be aware of what your enemy's planning, what they're doing, to know how to counteract it. But yeah, you always keep yourself vibrating high, but in a fight and in a war and in spiritual warfare, you better keep mind on what's going on around you. Not in a fearful way, because I fear nothing. I'm at a point where I don't fear much of anything, and that's not tough talk, but going through life and having many experiences and learning from them, it's like off the buffet table of life, I've sampled a little bit of everything. I always say that. And because I have that experience, it doesn't mean I want to go through some of the same experiences over again, because it may not be comfortable, but I've been there. Wherever you've been, I've been there. Maybe you've been there to certain places that were not comfortable more than me, but I kind of have an inkling of it because now I have a well-rounded mentality toward these different experiences, and it's invaluable, I'll tell you that much. But in order to kind of hone your discipline, develop your discipline, number one, I'd say it's about your effort. 100% effort must be put into everything you do. If you're doing 65% effort, you're leaving the door open for failure. But it is not always just concrete, you won, you failed. You want to ascend, you want to get better, you want to get yourself in a state of mind where you can receive the lessons that are going to come on to you later on, the things you have to learn. You have to have yourself in prime operating order. It's like, I don't care how good of a driver you are when you're in the NASCAR races, right? If your vehicle's not up to par 100%, I don't care how good a driver you are, that's going to be a gap between you executing your driving skills on that track. So the people who are watching won't even know that. They say, oh man, he's a bad driver, but your vehicle's not right. You might have the talent and no discipline, and they say, oh, he said he was a plumber or electrician or an artist, or he's a bad one. You may be good, but you don't have the discipline. And that's why you have to have that discipline. So that gap, or there is no gap between you executing your skills and doing what you have to do, right? But it's 100% effort that must be put in. So this is why when you have people doing apprentice work under somebody who knows what they're doing, they give them the menial tasks at first. It's like, I came here to learn construction, and for the last 3 months, I've been sweeping. But that's to get you around that mentality. And while you're sweeping, you're watching things, you're seeing things. There's a reason why that may not be 3 months. And you got it pretty easy. If you can be on a construction site for 3 months, they must either be paying you not as much as the other guys, or, you know, it's so easy that whatever you do get, you can't complain. But you're acclimating yourself to being in that atmosphere. You just can't step into a new arena, a new area, and just walk in and master it. You can have a natural talent to maybe do good in it off the jump more than somebody else. Yes, you do have that, but it's a rarity, and no matter where you fall on the scale, you're going to have discipline. And so when you see young boxers in the gym, they don't walk them in there and just, okay, hit the bag with this combination. No, your body's out of shape. You got to get your body in shape to be able to execute the moves. So you're going to have to run. You may have to hit the bag or do something, but it's not on a learning level. It's just get your body in shape. Come back when you're in shape, or stay here and get in shape. We're not looking to train you no kind of way, doing anything. Get your temple, get your body in shape, get your life in shape. And that's what it comes down to with most things. Not even just the discipline, but number one, getting your life in shape. Is your life in shape? How are you going to compete against somebody who has been doing what they've been doing for years, has lived this, and you just step in and you're going to be the greatest in that? Even Muhammad Ali had to train hard to beat some of his opponents, and even he got beaten, knocked down. Never got knocked out, but he got beaten in certain fights. Did you see his face after the first Joe Frazier fight, March 8th, 1971? Did you see in the interview how big his face was? He took a lot of punishment. He came back off of a layoff, and he wasn't on the level he was before, but over the years now, even though he didn't never hit his peak years were robbed from him, he still had enough discipline, and could have had more from what I hear, right? But he had enough to beat Frazier 2 more times in grueling battles, and then he kind of fell off with his discipline. And he used his talents and abilities and his athleticism, which he didn't have as much of, but his ring savvy, to push it on even more. But Muhammad Ali could have been a greater fighter as far as his accomplishments if he didn't have that 3.5-year layoff, because he had a momentum going up. And then with that momentum, with those issues where he couldn't fight, wasn't training as much, it just fell off. Then he had to pick up again, but he could have gone that much higher. And that's another thing. And this has nothing to do with discipline, but I said that word momentum and it triggered off something for me. When you, and this is not just about boxing, when you are a neophyte, or when you may have taken a setback you don't always jump right in or expect to jump right into the level you were in. No matter what it is that you do, if you had a leg injury and you happen to be a runner and your leg was broke, or both legs were broken for some accident in 2 places or 3 places, and you were in a cast and couldn't even walk, you're in a wheelchair, and you're in there for so many months or maybe a year, I don't know how severe it may be, but you're off for a time. Well, when you get the cast off of you, you're not just going to go out there to the track and just run like you used to. It takes time. Plus, you had before the momentum of not having the injuries in your way. You ran for 7 or 8 years and you didn't have any setbacks, so you had a drive, you had a momentum, and this injury broke the momentum. And now you got to not start all over again because your mind knows how to run, but your body's softened up. You got to get your balance back again and your stamina. So knowing and having the discipline to even come back from a setback is very important, and you're going to have that. If you're getting over on talent alone, and when you have a setback like that runner, do you have the discipline to focus and come back, or did you just take it for granted that you had natural ability, but you didn't even know how you got there, right? That's just how it is, you know. These flies, let me brush this thing off. But 100% focus, all in. That, when you can hit that zone, when you're involved in something, that alone is so powerful, because when you're 100% in, or 1,000% in, anything over 100 you want to say, you're at one with this thing. And you're not just going to grab a pencil or a pen, and you see me feeling around for my pen. I always keep my pen here. That's my pet peeve. Like little girls walk around with little teddy bears. I got to keep my pen with me. I don't care what I'm going out to take the garbage. Where's my pen? I'm weird that way, but I embrace my weirdness, right? But, you know, that being said, you become one with this thing, and you can have a connection with it. Like even me with my artwork. When I put hours into something, I'm playing my music and I'm zoned, I'm thinking things and drawing, I'm in that place of bliss, disconnected from the spirits of the world, disconnected from the entities and the personalities and the egos and the people. I am locked away and I am focused on what I'm doing, and I'm shading small parts, whatever. The proof is in the pudding. I've proven it time and time again. Go to Lancescurv.com and look under the art tab, or go to inkgasms.com and see what it is I do. And that's, most of that is the old stuff. But when you have that kind of connection with it, even when my artwork is not near me, because when I start drawing, I start keeping it with me all the time. Even when I know I'm not going to draw, I want to have it with me. I have an idle moment. I'm waiting in line somewhere and it takes 5 minutes for me to get to the front of the line by the cashier. I whip it out and I start touching it. That's the connection I have. I have a yearning for it. I want to touch it. I want to be with it. And so when I'm not around it, I can still do things. It's like with my website. I can see something in the world or come up with something in my mind and know how I'm going to do this thing. The banners that I make for each show usually don't take me any more than 5 or 10 minutes unless it's really detailed, or maybe even less than that. Because sometimes I'm out in the world, I'm like, okay, this is the show we're going to do. This is the look I want to have on the banner. I'm going to get this person's face and put it this way. I'm going to take another picture, clean it up around the edges, drop it here behind it, over the shoulder, all those things. Pop, 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 pop. Because when you're repetitiously trained in something over a 20-year period, and that's just the online experience. We're not talking about a lifetime experience, because I think I first picked up a pencil to draw when I was 2.5, 3 years old. That's what my father, my mother, my parents tell me. Who knows? Maybe even before that. You know what I mean? But they were taken aback by the natural ability that I had. At first, they used to draw futuristic-looking vehicles. And they're like, wait a second. Where'd this come from? And I was sitting there real young. Like, I did that. You did that? So it was funny because the system, when they saw my ability to see things and put it down on paper, right? They had people who, I couldn't say exactly what it was, but it was like they wanted to give me these tests. They wanted to see my hand-eye coordination. They wanted to see, so they would take you to these places. They would have us come, and I was some special whatever kid, not no special needs or whatever. That I was like a little bit. I'm not knocking anybody with special needs, but it was like, oh my God, he's phenomenal. Let's test him. And I don't know why those tests were executed, It wasn't anything bad. It wasn't cuckoo, but it was an exceptional thing because that's all I heard from them. Exceptional, exceptional. And who knows? Maybe my name was put on a list somewhere like, you better watch him. Don't let him get near that Farrakhan. Don't let him get near Marcus Garvey, because if he gets that kind of mindset, so we got to shoot him down. And this is why a lot of times I never understood in public school. We had some nice teachers, but some of them weren't too nice to me. And I was a very polite kid. So now I know, because like I said before, and this is off topic, they have teachers in place to see who are the young ones coming up over the horizon that will be a threat later on. So while they can chop you down and assassinate you when you got past their guard, they assassinate your spirit from young. So this is why you have to watch your children when you bring your children to the enemy, which I don't understand why you would want to do that with the sense we have now. Before, maybe we didn't know, but now we know, right? So going back to what I was saying, 100% in, connecting to your work, 100% in. You have to have a desire and a love for what you do so strong. And that's what helps to build the discipline. When you're really into what you're doing and you don't care what it is that you have to do to accomplish the task, you're all in. Like I said, it's like those fighters. You have two fighters. You have one who has a lot of talent, but he took it for granted. He didn't train as much. He's chasing women at night. Not that's bad, but you're chasing them and you're staying up at night. It's a mental thing. You might be drinking, drugging, do whatever. I'm good. I'm going to whip this guy. I'm bigger than him. I'm faster than him. I'm stronger than him. But you know what? Your resolve was not that strong when you caught that first blow. Now here's this other guy. Might be a little smaller than you, slower than you, but his mind is determined. He's not allowing you to do or get the win. Every step of the way, he's on you. He's not as pretty as a fighter, but he's dropping body shots. He's in great shape. He has a granite chin and a strong mind. So now you have to muster up your talent, but you can't execute it because you didn't have the discipline to keep your body in shape. So now here you are with all this talent, huffing and puffing. And this guy is not getting tired at all, and he's a basic fighter, but he's wrecking your body, and he eventually gets the knockout. And you say this guy's lesser than me, but how can you say he's lesser when he is submitted to the rules of the game more than you? So it's not just talent. So you got to stay on point. You got to have discipline. Now, developing discipline, you just don't get enthusiastic one day and say, you know what, I'm going to go out there. Let me just say, how would I say it? You've been eating bad for the last 5 years, doing nothing, sitting behind a desk, and now all of a sudden you're inspired. And you say to yourself, you hear some music, you see a video, now you're amped. And you know what, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to join this gym and I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to kill it. Not knowing that you'll burn yourself out or even injure yourself the first day you go with all that enthusiasm. You have to do things incrementally. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to temper your enthusiasm, but hold on to it because that's the power. But then let it off a little bit at a time so your body doesn't get overwhelmed by what you're demanding of it. Your body don't know nothing to say, how are you commanding me to do this? My tendons and my ligaments and my muscles and my back, it's not ready for this. So you got to start out small, like we said about the boxers or anybody doing apprentice work. It may be where the trainer may have you sit in front and just jab, just jab, just jab, just jab. And you come back to your friends, what they have you do that? I just jab. 2 weeks, I just been jabbing. To know the importance of the jab until it's second nature to you. So you throw it out, it's not an effort no more. It's like, pfft. Does somebody have to tell you or remind you that you have to brush your teeth or comb your hair? Does somebody have to remind you that you got to clean your backside after you do a number 2? Well, some of y'all, I think you may need somebody to remind you, because when I get on public transportation, some of them scents that I smell is not just passing gas. It's raw sugar honey iced tea. Some of y'all, there's no hope. I'm sorry, I'm not a doomsayer, but I got to call it for what it is. But incrementally, start with the small things. Small things. Master the small things. I'm not really a fan of the corporate world, but the best CEOs are the ones who came up in the company as opposed to coming away from another company as a CEO to jump in as another CEO. But that one company, all the things unique into that particular corporate culture by them starting 20 years ago in the mailroom, or maybe even maintenance. And they get to know the apartments from the apartments. Right? I'm thinking about my father with the floor refinishing, right? They get to know the different departments just by being a non-threatening person who's emptying the garbage cans and whatever. Now, you don't have to be a person who says, yeah, I'm going to be CEO. And that whole environment and that pyramid scheme is a wicked thing, but I'm not saying it for that. I'm saying it for different things that are different reasons where, okay, you know it maintenance-wise. You know every wing of the building. Now you go and work in the mailroom. And now, you know, it's kind of furious down there. You're not getting paid as much money. But in the mailroom now, people are getting used to seeing your face and you're doing good work. There's a rush. Maybe in that law firm or corporate situation, there's a rush of mail coming in because of a case as far as a lawyer or some extra business coming in, you know, which we don't use the physical mail as much. And I know mailrooms, do they still exist? They have to. Documents, physical documents have to be signed with the raised seal and all that stuff. I understand that. But you learn that well. So now you get into an entry-level position in the company. You learn that well. Then you go to school to be more specified, to be in another department where you can hold a position and move on up now because you have the paperwork, right? And so now after that, your work is admired, you get along with people, comes time for promotions, you get more brush-up work to learn in school, something that you need to bring back to the company. In a perfect world, we know there's racism, we know there's sexism, we know there's favoritism, we know there's nepotism, we know that all the isms are there. But in a perfect world, and I'm not just saying that to say that, oh yeah, the corporate way is to go. I run away from that. I've always run away from that. And I've had jobs on lower levels in the corporate world where just something simple to do, but I didn't like that tension. So the thing with that is now, you move up, and let's just say symbolically, you're the CEO. Well, guess what? You can run damn near every department on every level. And I mean, if you came up through a certain type of department, you know people from other parts, and they explain to you what's needed to be done. You've mastered it. You've mastered it. So even me online, I do every aspect of creation, and nobody can fool me. I control all of it. I don't need now anyone on a graphics level, on a how to write level, on a how to talk level, how to set the show up. And even in social media, the rules change, the algorithms change. So you have to know what was there and what worked. And when you read these tutorials and keep yourself up to par with what's out there, how it will affect you, you can adapt because you have a basic knowledge over decades, and that's me. And even on the creative field, you know, I never went to school for advertising, but I can hang with anybody who does advertising, who makes billboards, who constructs an ad to appeal to a certain faction of the community, right? Or a certain area, a certain set of people, age groups, race, you know, ideology. It's just simple things. And how do you appeal to them? How do you catch their eye? How much is too much? How little is too little? With what you have to work in that ad, what gives maximum punch to sink into the subconscious mind? It's not guesswork. How do you use and arrange the colors? What font are you going to use? Are you going to use uppercase or lowercase? Are you going to use Directive 4? Are you going to use what's the other one that I use? I'm going off into a different word. I'm just saying you know the inner workings and specifics because you know this thing so well. It's like a mother who has a child, and they've been with that child all their life, from birth into the present. You know your child so good that you can communicate to them in a non-verbal way, and they'll know exactly what it is that you're trying to say. They start acting up, and you give that look, and they sit right on down. They know. Just the same way now, you as a parent don't understand how you can start a sentence and your child can finish it. And usually it's under their breath because they don't want you to hear, because they know more about you than you know yourself, because they had nothing else to focus on except you. And at this age, they're a sponge. Now, you had them from birth, but you have all these other things to worry about or concern yourself about, you know, paying the mortgage, paying the rent, getting the food in, and looking over their studies and stuff like that. So there's more you have to do. For them, It's just mommy and daddy, or whatever the upbringing is. They know their environment well because they have nothing else to do but study. And so this is why you have to continually feed someone the task over and over, especially your kids, your children, to let them see what is required to get this discipline. And it better if they see you living a certain way. If they sitting home after work, if they do work, I'm not putting anybody down. There's all kind of jacked up dysfunctional households out here. They could be sitting there drinking, didn't work all day, not worry about how to build, the lights out, I'm going to borrow some money next week. We had the lights on, but just bear with me this week. Lights out for the week. You can't do nothing. How do you expect a child, what can they absorb from that to have discipline? So just think, there's so many children out here who have been prematurely cut off from a chance at life because at the base of the foundation, they weren't taught discipline, therefore they weren't able to develop the talents that they have. And talent is a funny thing because a child can come up in a subpar environment and still show flashes of this thing. And maybe a teacher says, whoa, who taught you how to do that? I just knew how to do it. I just like doing it. Well, try this out and try that out. And you will have that teacher that will take an interest in you, or that church member or that neighbor where maybe the ones at home just couldn't see. They can see, and they knew that this, if you have a regimented schedule of learning and developing yourself and learn discipline, you'll be a world beater. But you're not going to do it without discipline. No way, no way. So you got to start out with the small things. Don't overburden yourself too much. Again with boxing, if you're a neophyte and you're new to this thing, they're not going to throw you into heavyweight champion of the world. They'll crush you. And they'll break your spirit. You're not ready for that yet. It takes time to cultivate the discipline, but you start out with small wins. You start out with small victories, smaller accomplishments that you can accomplish easier, I don't know where that came from. And there's this big behind bee coming over here. Don't come over here, right? So now, you give them confidence now because they accomplished this, although years later, they're going to look back at the accomplishment and say, yeah, that was something kind of easy, but you brought me along, you developed me. You don't crush somebody by throwing too much on them. And sometimes people who are envious of your potential, who are in a position of power, will do this to break you because they see you as a future threat to their hold on their position in the company or their hold on the power in that particular home. You have fathers, you have mothers who sometimes don't like the children. They're jealous of the children. They may have a twisted love for them. They're not going to see nothing happen to them, but they don't like the fact that, well, I had to be out in the country, years ago, toiling in this basic place, but now we come to America, we come to different places, or even come out here to the motherland, wherever it is that you came from, and you're coming into something new, and they see that you're perched by technology and the things that are available to you as far as knowledge and the training, and sometimes they get upset and then just want to crush your spirit. That's the reality of it all. Just because a person says they're a mother or they're a father, it doesn't mean they have nurturing qualities. It doesn't mean that they know how to develop you. It doesn't mean they know everything. How many times have we gone through life and realized that as you got older, wait a second, this father or this mother that I looked up to as being the all-knowing, all of a sudden I can see how fragile they are. All of a sudden I can see their frailties. All of a sudden I can see that they don't know everything. But I can put it in the proper context because it was good for me at that time, but now I need to remove myself, not away from them completely, but I need more training. I need to be exposed to more. And a good parent in exposing the child is doing them a favor to things beyond them. They don't want to keep them corralled off and you do this or you do that. And then when they go out in the world, they're like, what the hell am I going to do? Right? Much less having the discipline to do it. Right? So 100% focus. Start out with the small things like that. And the next thing I'm going to say, train your focus. Focus, 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 focus. Focus comes before discipline. Discipline doesn't come first and then focus. It's focus before discipline. If you don't have the ability to focus on something, how the heck are you going to be disciplined? And oftentimes our focus is something we have to fight to keep. That's a sharp blade cutting through, a hot sharp blade cutting through butter. Easy work. But if we're not focused, we're easily distracted. We get up in the morning time. First thing we grab, I'm not saying me, grab our phones and look at Facebook. Grab our phones and whatever. Now, if you have someone in the hospital or it's a thing going on where you have to always watch your phone, then you're going to have to do that. But that phone is a weapon against our mind, but it can be a sword to help us, because I use my phone. I'm probably on my phone more than anybody who's watching this video, but you see the result of me being on that phone. It's not for stupidness. The minute I sense that I'm going towards something like that, it's out of my hand. Or if I keep it on me, I'm not focused on that. I detach because I love real living. I love real breathing, the real air, and focusing on that, focusing on real life things. That enables me to have the enthusiasm to get into the things of work and the things of creativity, because you got to have more sides to life. You're going to have to enjoy life. You cannot be rigid. Rigidity will help you to snap when the stress comes. Like I said, you have the oak tree. I'm going to say it again. You have the oak tree. Strong. You can't move it. It's big. It's tall. It's thick. And then you have the palm tree, which to a human being, it feels strong. But when heavy winds of a hurricane come, it's not strong enough to fight the wind, but it negotiates with the wind. And what does it do? It lays back, lean back, lean back, lean back, right? And so the winds don't snap the palm tree, which is much weaker than the oak tree. But if there was a hurricane, which where oak trees grow, they're not usually hurricanes pretty much, but this is something you got to stretch your imagination. When those same winds come and the oak tree stands up against it, and it's just going to snap. So we have a lot of people who look strong and appear strong, but they don't know how to think and negotiate a situation, and they snap, you see, because they're too rigid. And off topic, as far as that's concerned, we have those who are so rigid, and we have those who just don't give a damn how their life comes out. And for me now, I'll always concern how my life is. Always, 100% of the way. But I'm not rigid. And there were times when I would get around certain individuals that want you to be rigid with them. It has to be this way, and it has to be that way, and this is not the way, and so on and so. Oh man, miserable. I'm here at this age, in this life, with a work to do, and I'm going to enjoy myself. If one day I have a nice meal that has something in it that I'm not used to eating, but it's not bad for me, there's something new, I'm going to try it out. If I say to myself, you know what, I'm going to have a glass of wine with this meal. We're relaxing, we're being social. I don't drink. I'll sip a little wine, one glass once a year. And I haven't done that in like 4 or 5 years. But I've restructured my thinking. That as much as we push and as much as we stay focused, you're going to have to enjoy life and just relax a little bit. Because all this rigid business, you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor because you're wired all the time in one gear. I'm not saying abandon your clean lifestyle and just run out there all kind of ways one time. No, you must always be mindful of where you stand from within and maintain your discipline. But if you choose to say, I'm going to enjoy this right now, and it doesn't even mean food or liquor or whatever, no. But if you see the beautiful mountains to the side of me, I turn the camera this way because of the sun, but it's kind of like moving to a place that'll make me look weird, you know? And I wanted you to see the cars going behind me and possibly the street. But now, for me, I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to enjoy the sun coming up, because I used to be so rigid of getting so much done that I'm not going to go to bed until I finish it. And usually folks around me who wake up, you still up? I didn't miss a beat. look at how much was done. Until it hit me that, you know what, I can get more done if you take 2 hours. From 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And you take the next hours from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you wake up early, I can get more done. Because the atmosphere I'm in, the sun coming up, everything's waking up, and I get caught up in that, how would I put it? When the wind pushes you, like it pushes the plane, because nature. But then when things go down and it's late at night, everything's sleeping, that 2 hours I can't be as effective. I probably only get maybe like 15 minutes worth of work done as opposed to what I would do in the morning time. So this is why, although I was up late last night, I had some things to do that were important because, you know, different time zones, people are up, and I had to be able to communicate with some people in different parts of the world on a rare three-way call, because one person's 8 hours this way and the next person's 8 hours this way, and I'm in the middle. So there will be times like that. But when left alone, I want to be up before the sun comes up like I've been doing, and in the bed when it goes down, and I'll stay up a little bit afterward and then doze off. That's the rhythm of this world. That's the momentum of this world. And this is why many of us who live in these artificial living conditions, right, they burn out because they're so disconnected from nature. Just to be up when the sun comes up, just to look up and see the sun and enjoy it. Enjoy the mountains, enjoy your meal, whatever that may be, and you bite into it and you have the flavors swirl around. You have a good piece of spelt bread and it's toasted and it's lightly salted, and the crispness of the lettuce and how fresh it is, the tomato, whatever it is you have between there. I'm not going to be judgmental, but you bite these things and the flavors that swirl in your mouth, and you inhale fresh air, you drink water and you can feel it going through you. You eat a piece of fruit, and the sweetness naturally of the fruit with the fiber and all the natural vitamins, minerals, and substances in it, known and unknown beyond man's narrow comprehension, is nourishing your body. The joys of life. And the more discipline you have, the more you can enjoy it. Discipline doesn't mean detaching yourself from the basic and very, very human and very nourishing joys of life. Not just nourishing as far as a plate of food, but nourishing as far as your soul. You're here to vibrate with this planet. So when you live in an artificial living environment where you're supposed to work all night, and I know that some of us have to do that, but we need to move away from that and be cognizant of what must be done. I've worked night jobs for 30 years out of my life. Never felt right, but in my mind I had to do it, right? But now that I'm free, this is a whole total thing for me every day to be under the sun, and I have time to do it. But even when I didn't have time to do it, if I worked a night job, sometimes I'd pull up a lawn chair in the back. I get home maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, but guess what? The next 4 or 5 hours, I go in the back and lay out. I'm sleeping, but the sun is hitting me. See, these practices have preserved me. These practices have made it where, like, wow, what kept you? I didn't let myself go beyond a certain point. At times I ate lots of junk food and stuff, but once I hit a certain point, I got to back off from this. I never let myself go too far because of the discipline that I was reared up on, to know that I'm not going to let myself get past a certain point where it'll be so hard to come back. If you never let yourself get out of shape, you never have to get in shape. And that's the bottom line, right? So we got the small things, 100% effort, train your focus. And the other thing I'll say, you'll be fighting to focus and you train your focus, and that's beautiful. But we also have to understand that we need to disconnect from things that are pulling away us from our focus. Hey man, come on man. Your wifey, she sleep, right? Come with us to the titty bar. Come on man, she ain't gonna know. Nah. Why? What is it doing for me? When you have a goal and you're developing your discipline and your focus, why are you going to do something that pulls you out of that zone that you're in? Again, not to be rigid, but for a time you must put in the work and get a rap sheet of work put in, of accomplishments that you can see for yourself, and you can see that I made progress from point A to point B and all the way down to point Z in my life. And I look the same to a point, but I'm a different person. My mind is in a different place. So I'm not saying that those are the things, well, enjoy life, they'll spit it back. Well, you did say you would enjoy life. No, I don't want to be in somewhere with all this cigarette smoke, all this liquor, all this cussing and damning. And then you know when a brother leaves out the club early and he's pissed at somebody and screeches off, you don't want to be around for the next few minutes because you know brother man is coming back. I don't want to be in that environment. I'd rather go out in nature. I'd rather come up here and lay down in the sun. I'd rather go up on the mountain, up on the hill where Lancescurv is, and planting all the plants and cultivating and farming, and just pull up a chair and just chill, reach up and get a mango, and just, even your leisurely things should be something that fortifies you when it's time to push and go all in. Those things you need to do, right? So, that being said, disconnect from the obvious things that are toxic that are going to pull you away from your focus as you start to do the small things and create new habits. Let your new habits be something that undergirds the projects that you'll be working on, whether you're doing this, you're learning about refurbishing or vehicles, old muscle cars, whether you're trying to get back in shape, or whether you're trying to learn something by reading these books, but you don't want to go to school, but you want to sit here and read for 2 or 3 hours a day because you have the time. If something comes to take you away from that, it's really counterproductive to the overall. And so this is what I say. When you have a goal, you must use all of your life force to reach it. You must mold your life around this so everything you do out in the outside world helps this. Do I go out without a camera? No. I might have some footage that I can get. Maybe I might meet somebody of note or accomplishment, or maybe a celebrity, which I'm not into what the world says is a celebrity, but it's nice sometime on a human level. Say, hey, I ran into this person. Or maybe a conversation that struck up that we didn't anticipate, and say, hey, listen, I got some audio equipment here, I got some video equipment here. I run this page, and a lot of people who watch it, they would love to hear what you have to say. But if I didn't have the discipline or the ability to think into the future, leave them cameras at home. I ain't gonna meet nobody. That's the very time. That's the very time. So I always keep a bag on my shoulder, sometimes more if I'm doing an event, or sometimes basic, but I can still get good footage. So I move about my life naturally, and as things come to me within the full day, like if I go out later on, I'm gonna get some footage. I might go on the overpass bridge and talk, and people come up to me, what are you doing? This looks interesting. And then you talk to them, and then you grow, and then you expand. This is what helped me to meet so many people out here who are not part of the information gatherers or the nigger federations, that are there to feed back information to the government, or just collectively feel that you need to be in their secret handshake group and you cut out if you're not in that. No, I don't want to be bothered with that stuff. The sun, the fruits, the land, the majority of the people, and learning and books and getting better and being a student of the games, the various games that I'm in. I'm not saying games like a video game, but just being a student of that. I have no time for this power grab in a very small and insignificant hierarchy, and people all in your business that way. This is my business, making myself better, being a better servant. Because all of this that these people run after doesn't matter. 100 years from now, nobody will even know their names. But they put great effort into what? I want to maximize the potential, maximize the actual living that I'm in. I just don't want to be alive. You got people who are in the hospitals on artificial respirators who are brain dead but alive, as far as their bodies are concerned. But there's nothing up here. And I think it's sad that so many of us can be out here in the world and merely just alive, enjoying the basic sensations. Yeah, I took a leak, I took a dump, I had sex, I came real good, I had a good meal, or I slept real good, and all they're doing is going back and forth from one bodily function to the other, and really not getting a life by having a discipline to cut through the frivolous things and deal with the things that are more important to having an ascended life, ascended living. It's just right off the hip. And it's such a nice view over this way, and even on that side, it's just such a nice, wow. But the sun is kind of at the wrong direction, so one day I'll come up here at a certain time and just spin it around all the way around. But when you create your habits and you do them so much, It's effortless now, isn't it? It's like you're on autopilot. And I'm sweating too. My sweat glands are on autopilot. As they should be, to get these toxins out. And when I say African sun, I know the sun is the sun. What do you mean by African sun? It's the same sun shining up here in England. Yeah, but it ain't the same. It's the center of this planet, 0 longitude and 0 latitude, and there's a reason for that. And the way the sun feels is straight up nourishing me. I feel it. That's why I can come here and talk as much as I do. Okay, I'm gonna roll for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna wrap it down. But discipline is not a thing that you can go to the store and buy. There's nothing you can pluck out of the air and say you have it. As I displayed, there's certain things that you have to get into so that you can develop your discipline. You know, so when you see a disciplined person, they didn't just wake up, you know, I'm going to be disciplined for the rest of my life. You have to work at it. It comes in time. If you have the type of personality where, for example, you like discipline, it's naturally like discipline. Some people don't. Some people are just wild and all over the place and can't focus it, and they don't want to do anything toward that. Well, they'll reap the benefits of that, which that's not a benefit. But they'll see that they cannot get that far without that. So this explains why some of us can get to a goal faster, more efficiently, and reach multiple goals. And speaking about goals, it doesn't mean you have to have this singular mind toward the one thing. Again, the oak tree was so rigid. There are other things that I do. There are other hobbies that I want to get into. Because when you do other things, it enhances that main thing that you do. Years ago, say for example, in bodybuilding, right? Not the drug-driven chemical warfare battles that they do on stage now, where they're more talking about, oh, I took a dose of this, and I took a dose of that, and I use this injectable, and this growth hormone. Like, wait a second, what about good food and training? Good health. It's a whole different thing, so I'm not talking about that. But in more natural competitions or days when you had more natural guys competing, which drugs were always around since 1940s. So don't get it twisted. Most of what you see out here are people who are on drugs. And they just, because they can't maintain it, they go back to what they were when they're not on it. You know, if you're a skinny little kid and you trained on drugs, you can put on weight naturally and do things over time. You're not just going to come out and get these bursting muscles and whatever, and as soon as you're away from the supply of a source, all of a sudden you shrink back down. You're going to go back to what you were. Understood? So, when we had these bodybuilders that they were awkward, they didn't know how to present their bodies. They didn't have balance on stage, grace, which in your presentation, it helps out a whole lot to give. And it shows an awareness of your physique, the control of every muscle, how to move and how to visually stimulate the audience and be in control every second, even down to your breathing. Instead of flexing and you're shaking and all that stuff. No, you want to move so smooth and so effortless. So we had guys doing yoga. We had guys going to ballet teachers and learning how to shift the weight and have more control, because presentation